This Week I'm Learning, the podcast where the topics are lightly researched and the only internet point we care about is red. Or is it orange? Little Reddit joke there. This is episode 22, November 7th of 2020. At long last, here in the States, we have a winner. A winner has been declared. And all I have to say is, it's us. Thanks so much for being here. Anyway, yeah, I'm your host, Brandon Vader, also known as Dracanis. Down below me, Psychonitros, also known as Cody's... Goddamn, I can talk, I promise. May have already had a little too much. Psychonitros, down below me, Cody Stratman. Down to the bottom right of your screen is Colton Roper, also known as Seeker4761.
Hello.
Is he doing this?
And directly next to me, our good friend Charlie Stifler, also known as Mjolnir.
He does watch the YouTube.
He can learn. You can teach an old dog new tricks.
Hey.
Gonna have to send you a treat.
The second oldest person on this podcast.
Just
You bunch
guess
of
which one's the
old
oldest.
fogies.
Just take
Brandon,
a guess.
You're not older than me. You're the third oldest.
Just
I thought I was older
yeah,
than you.
yeah.
I'm
Guess.
older than
We
you.
we probably have this conversation every time.
Yeah, we do.
So whoever guesses
I know where
who's
I
the
stand,
oldest
so.
and who's the youngest gets an internet treat.
An internet point that is either red or orange.
Woot!
Woot.
The real winner is our viewership and listenership.
Yes.
You're welcome, internet.
And probably someone on this podcast's ego. Just
Hope it's me.
so
How's it going, guys?
This was a really fucked up week, wasn't it? Just
Oh, it continues to
yeah.
be. It
It's not over.
this week
Yeah.
is
Over.
going to be 2 months long. I foresee.
Civil
This
War
coming
2.
week, yeah. Hey,
I just
as
wish
long
the
as-
second Civil War was for a new reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
I
never
don't know,
learned,
for
do we?
a long while. It could be a few other things.
Good thing we're not a Yeah, I was gonna say. Good thing it's this is not a political podcast. Otherwise, we would be out of content already.
Right. All I have to say is Alaska and Arizona. Really? Could you not get your votes counted quick enough, please? Colorado, Brandon and I, we're done. We were done day one.
Dude, we can't even use the right pens down here. So relax.
Fair enough.
So are you
It's all
gonna
good.
fly out to Attu and Venatai and get the votes from them? Just
All
see
6
them?
of them.
Yeah, Alaska,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Alaska, I understand.
I like Alaska.
I know
Yeah,
it's
I
really
I don't know
warm
why.
out
hire
there.
I don't know
some
why
workers
I'm so
pilots.
mean to Alaska. I love Alaska. It's a high quality. It's a state.
It is a state.
You burned.
A lot of people
Okay,
think it's its own country or that we have like a different currency, but yes.
But I mean, you can see the igloo trying to come through his picture. That's the white.
Actually, it froze. It's like, nope. Like, we can't have this. You're in Alaska? What is this nonsense? You can't have nice things.
What
You
what
want
a
palm
weird
trees
beach
and
where the
warm
water
water?
freezes and yeah.
All right.
That might be a 2020 thing right there.
Don't tempt fate. Well, I think it's time we start. Maybe, hopefully someone will have some lighter topics. Or I have a feeling we're going to be breaking into our
Brinking?
adult beverages.
We're going to be brinking.
Brinking.
Yes.
Brinking.
Yes.
Not a multiple
Not even
of
our
12
drinking
yet.
episode.
Yeah,
God
it's not.
damn it.
I haven't even had a sip of that yet. Honestly. I've just been drinking Coke so far. After getting
Dude.
accused of being a racist bastard at McDonald's.
I was gonna say
'Cause I
what you
drive a
need
lifted truck.
is some fries.
Wear a camo jacket.
That's what you need from McDonald's. Is some fries, Brandon. Did you get any fries?
No, fuckers were out of fries.
Or-
Fuckers
or
were out of fries.
better,
What is
hot
this world
sauce,
coming to?
You know, Although it's backwards because
Yeah, we don't have the good hot sauce. We don't apparently
good
have fries
chicken nuggets,
tonight. The
yeah.
ice cream machine was broke.
oh, it's always broke. Like if it's a McDonald's, the ice cream machine's broke. It's a rule.
Interesting tech related bit. Do you know that there is now a crowdsourced map of
I was just
where
about to
you
say.
can get ice cream from at McDonald's, which ones are actually working that day?
Yep.
Wow.
Gets updated like hourly or something stupid like that.
I'm
Pretty
trying to
awesome.
remember where I heard that. If it was like my travel podcast or something, but I remember hearing
I think
that.
it was level 1 text.
Okay, yeah, it's just
I think it was on their nonsense episode.
that's
That's fantastic.
ridiculous
Bunch of nonsense.
and necessary. Completely
Yes.
necessary.
So necessary. Much like the rant we're about to have from Cody.
God. Excuse me while I start drinking.
There's a reason there are adult beverages on this show today. Because Cody is having issues with time. And you and all of us are going to hear about it.
And we're so fucking excited, Cody.
We're so
We haven't heard
I'm
a
just-
Cody rant in like 7 episodes. So
I haven't heard a Cody rant in
good.
exactly like 45 minutes.
God, you're overdue, man.
Well, it might appease me because Colton is going to tell me that there's something even rarer than the steaks I like. I don't know how possible that is, but
I found something rarer than those steaks, and they're bloody. I'm not gonna lie. So super exciting. And Charlie is going to remind us that 20 down, only 4 or possibly 8 more to go, or a million. I guess I don't understand the reference, but I'm excited to find out.
Yeah.
Probably fucked that up, but oh well.
It's all right. No, you read it exactly the way it was written, and yeah, it's supposed to be as cryptic and hard to guess at as possible. Brandon
Excellent.
will tell us the stars speak, but what do the dead ones have to say? Very deep indeed.
I wish I would have found that article last week. Would have.
It can't be scarier. We've already scared all our listeners away.
Yeah.
Ooh, fun.
We'll see.
Ooh.
We'll see.
All right, Cody.
To Cody,
Make it quick.
I think you get
Please.
to go last today.
okay.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Executive decision
Oh
made.
God.
I like
this
it.
is. I don't like this. Change is scary.
I think
You're
that
switching
way,
it up with the
if
order,
we're starting to
just like-
run. I just got to change the tempo. I got to change the time.
You're abusing your power.
I loved it. I love it, and I'm drinking to it. I drink in your name, sir.
I will rock, paper,
Cheers.
scissors, lizard, Spock you.
I'll do it in spirit in this case.
So, take us away, Colton. What's even rarer than Cody and I's steaks?
Oh,
And
you
your
guys
steaks,
in
apparently.
your rare steaks. So
If it isn't bloody, I don't want it.
If it wasn't
Just
mooing,
ride the whole cow out. I'll cut off what I want.
It's-
And I'll ride the rest home.
it's weird and chewy. I don't. I'm weird. Medium well. That's perfect for me.
You're a travesty to
Rare.
meat, good sir.
That's all right.
Hey, at least it's not well done.
All right, but Oh,
We're
go
not
ahead,
gonna
go
get
ahead,
political, but we
Wasn't it-
will get like steak meatical.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll get medieval on
Oh,
a
yeah.
steak.
Oh yeah, I have to say I love my dad so very much, but for the longest time I thought I hated meat because he only knows how to cook things well done. And I'm sorry, Dad, because I know you're probably listening, but
Same exact
I love ya.
story. I grew up
It's
on a
actually
ranch,
the same with my father.
and I thought I was a vegetarian because we only had well done meat.
It must have been really nice to be so picky growing up, boys. I was lucky to
Yeah,
get
I didn't have that problem
Oh.
at all, actually.
Only child, basic. Yeah.
yep. Only child squad over here.
Hey, I'm an.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
I was raised as
Am I-
an only child, but whatever.
Yeah, actually,
There you go.
say Charlie and I are
Essentially.
kind of the same in that aspect.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I'm the only one with a brother. Interesting. I
No,
never
you're
thought
the
about
only
that.
one with a brother that you were actually raised in the same
That I grew up
household
with.
through
Yeah,
childhood.
yeah.
Yes.
That's
It's
right.
basically like Charlie
Families
and
are
our
complicated.
I was going to say,
complicated
families in
ones.
2020 are just,
It like
you
phases.
can't even, so weird.
one corner to the
All right,
other quarter.
Colton,
But-
get us back on the rails. For the love
Regardless-
of God, get us back on the rails.
Instead of stakes, which is a fascinating topic, I'm actually going to talk about the rarest event that's ever been, like, observed in our universe.
Uh-oh.
Ooh. Yeah. So,
I know what's happening right now in Brandon's head. Uh-oh.
interesting. We'll have to see. So, we'll start with a little backstory. Scientists actually created an experiment called the Xenon 1T, which was actually designed to detect dark matter, which is the stuff out there that causes the universe to expand and we don't fully understand it and doesn't really interact with anything in this universe. It's pretty much a mess with physics right now. They actually used 3,500 kilograms of xenon isotope 124 in the hopes that they could actually record dark matter interacting with the xenon by detecting the theoretical flash of light that should occur if just a giant block of xenon gas, I guess you could say, when the dark matter interacts with it, it's supposed to create a light, and it's recorded with super high sensitivity instruments, and life is good. However, the experiment did not actually detect any dark matter. So you would think that would be a failure of an experiment. However, they actually discovered something, well, not a cooler, but different, kind of like side towards that.
Side science.
They weren't looking for it, but that's how science is sometimes. You just kind of go with what you got. So the scientists use that xenon because it's an extremely stable noble gas, and especially this isotope 124. Its half-life is actually 18 billion trillion years. So
it's not going anywhere, is what you're saying.
It's super fucking stable. It's so to give a perspective of that is 1 trillion times longer than the age of the universe. So it's not going anywhere. So in that 3,500 kilograms of xenon, there's actually 17 billion atoms within that 3,500 cube, whatever you want to call it, which is 1.7 times 10 to the 28th atoms. So just a ridiculous amount of atoms, more than grains of sand on the planet. Just can't even imaginably fathom what the hell that is in any possible way. However, out of those many atoms, one of them was actually recorded decaying. Just one of them. And because of the sensitivity of this particular experiment, they were actually able to detect it, to measure it, and essentially see an event that theoretically should not be possible to view within our universe's lifetime. So, cool, right?
Very
Yeah.
cool.
That is
Very
interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
And I think crisis averted. I don't think Brandon's topic is copying you after all.
Ooh.
For a second there, I was worried.
It's going to happen one of these episodes,
Oh,
and
it
we'll have to
has
figure out a
happened.
cool way to do that. That's true.
Yeah.
But, we'll figure it out. So, what does this mean? Nothing. Honestly, it's really just a cool thing that happened. The fact, it's kind of cool to think that the scientific instruments that they had were sensitive enough to be able to detect the decay of a single atom in a giant vat of extremely noble gas.
So out of
That one
curiosity,
was not so
if you
noble.
know the answer to this, it was coward. What did it decay into? Did
I
it
didn't
decay
look that
into
up.
a lower xenon, or did it decay into an adjacent?
It decayed into a different noble gas. I remember reading it, but I'm just a hack and a fraud when it comes to light research. So, unfortunately, that's going to have to be, added to the notes later. But I will look that up, and our editor will gladly put that in there right here. Like I said, it's just a cool thing. It doesn't change the future. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't even, like I said, it's not really supposed to be seen. And as far as scientists know, it's just a thing that they happen to observe. We happen to be at a time in the universe where we were in a position to see it. So
Cool.
2020, even the
2020.
cells want to die.
yeah,
Even the
Atoms.
even one of the most stable elements of the entire universe is like, fuck this
I've seen
shit.
enough.
I'm out. Fuck this shit. I'm out. Anyways, what color's my?
Excellent meme.
Oh God, it's so
Excellent.
white.
Excellent meme drop.
That was a good segue too.
Yeah, sometimes. But Charlie, please explain what the hell that was. The 24-8 random
So
even numbers.
I will give one piece of information. It is years. 20 years down, either 4 or 8 to go. Any guesses on what I'm talking about?
Presidential election.
No.
Climate change.
Nope. I'm going to turn off
Some-
my nice background for a second.
Oh, ISS.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the International Space Station, which I will now switch to.
Get
Yeah,
out of
that's
the
cool.
way!
I'm trying. I'm doing the thing that I really would never want to do, which is a spacewalk. It's put me in a
Really?
spaceship, absolutely. But I want to be inside the damn spaceship.
You know, I actually
Micrometeoroids.
I understand his thought process on this because when I'm climbing towers, like, it was never scary looking down for me, but it's fucking terrifying looking up. Because I've got this weird sensation, and a lot of the old guy that used to climb towers too, Harv Reese, would say the same thing. It's like, if you let go, it's not that I know that it's like, 60 to 90 feet down. That's not a big deal. I know that. But if I were to fall up, that's infinitesimal. Like, it's like...
It's the reason why some people really hate the idea of swimming in the actual ocean, because there's this vast emptiness below you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for our viewing listener pleasure, getting us back on the rails a little bit, the ISS has been continually habited for the last 20 years. The anniversary was actually sometime back in August. It sat intermittently occupied for 2 years before the continuous habitation of it began. So, technically, lifespan of the station, we're at 22 years, but 20 years of continuous habitation. And interesting factoids, if you guys had to guess how many habited space stations there have ever been in orbit of Earth in human recorded history, what's your answer?
Are we talking habited for more than
A day.
24 hours?
A day.
Okay.
And we're talking a station that is orbital. Like, obviously, being in the space shuttle doesn't count as a...
Correct. A station that actually stays in place. More.
I want to say
5.
4.
Okay, so I'm going to actually run down the list real quick, okay? So we have Salyut 1, which is a Soviet station that went up in 71. It was occupied for 24 days. It stayed in orbit for 175. There were 3, count them, 3 failed launches of space stations. Just like, oh, didn't make orbit. Oops, coming back down. 3 failed Soviet stations in the 70s. Then there was Skylab, which was an American that spent 2,249 days in orbit and was occupied a total of 171 days with a total of 9 crew. Then there was Salyut 3, 4, 5, and 7. They had 171 days, 15 days, 92 days, 67 days. Salyut 6 made it 683. And then Salyut 7 made it 861. Anyone want to guess what the next one was? Mir, which was in orbit for 5,511 days and was occupied continuously for 4,594 of them, with a little asterisk because when the fire broke out, they did use the escape pod and came back to it later. And then there are 2 more that are not the International Space Station, and they are not Russian. Any guesses?
I'd guess Chinese have one.
Correct.
India?
So
Yeah, I was gonna say India.
Tiangong 1 and 2. So Tiangong 1 was launched in 2018, spent 2,377 days in orbit. Total days of occupied was 25, 6 crew members total. Tiangong 2 was launched in September of 2016, and Tiangong 1 was launched in 2011 and deorbited in 2018. Tiangong 2 launched in 2016 and deorbited in 2019, spending 1,037 days in orbit, only 25 days occupied. So when you take into account International Space Station, 20 years of continued occupied space, that is just bafflingly huge. That's 8,023 days in orbit. That's 7,312 days that has been occupied. A total of 230 astronauts, cosmonauts, and other international visitors. Total of 88 crew visits, as in missions to launch crew into space, and 94 robotic visits, meaning like Dragon capsule going unmanned kind of thing, missions. So the unfortunate truth that we are entirely too close to now is that the scheduled decommissioning of ISS is 2024. Very sad indeed.
I guess I never really thought of the ISS ever not being up there. Now that I really think about it.
Yeah, and there's some push right now, depending on budgeting and all that stuff, and needed repairs and replacing of components. 2028 is the outside prospected hope, and that was before COVID. So with the budget shortfalls that we're going to be facing, and all of the paying back the debt that we're going to have to do to balance the budget enough to keep the country going, I'm unfortunately thinking that they're going to cut NASA, which is very sad and the opposite of what we should be doing, because frankly, making the human race a multi-planet entity makes it pandemic proof, as long as there's not frequent travel between the two sites. But they have a number of problems. There are continuous air leaks, and we're talking pinhole-sized leaks. So they're not losing like vast volumes of oxygen, but they are losing gas. They are losing gas constantly. So those resupply missions are bringing atmospheric gases with them in order to maintain homeostasis on the station. Other problems are, the original core module, which I'll pull off my Lego real quick and hold it up, is only that big. And while it has the cupola attached to it, it's not like a huge, daunting achievement of space architecture.
I'm going to stop you right there. That's like, there's a Zoolander reference I could probably make. Like, what is this?
What is this? A space station for ants? I've actually made that exact joke or reference about a tent less than 24 hours ago. That is
great minds, man.
Scary.
Great minds.
No, that makes me question my thought process on a lot of things.
Fuck you.
But, the fact of the matter is, this entire station is made of seals and gaskets and mechanical parts that degrade and oxidize and are being constantly contorted by direct sunlight and then cold vacuum, no sunlight. That's an incredible temperature shift. The wear and tear is immense. Not to mention, it's a pressure vessel, so it's constantly trying to fight the forces wanting to explode it apart. Add, micrometeoroids, and it's going to end eventually. We could try keeping it indefinitely, shedding the dying dead parts and replacing them, but that's diminishing returns.
Yeah, it sounds like it's better to create a new one.
It is. It really honestly will be. And hopefully, with any luck, that new one will not be in low Earth orbit. It will be in a lunar stationary orbit, which means it's going to live in the Lagrange point between Earth and the Moon, moving almost identically with the moon in perspective. So if you were to look up at the moon continuously, it would always be between us and the moon. It would the project is called Gateway, and it's a combination of NASA Dreamboard and corporate enterprise. I am very hopeful that the reusable Dragon Falcon systems will make it so making it that far away will not be that expensive. And that gateway station is designed to be basically a gateway between the moon and Mars, ultimately. If you can build a ship in a Lagrange point that's not constantly fighting gravitational, you're not fighting that you constantly having to add thrusting weight. You know, every time the mission goes up to the ISS, they have some spare RCS fuel, reaction control system fuel, that they add to the tanks of the station so it can continually adjust its attitude, because it doesn't have this perpetual inertia. Gravity is acting upon it. So making it into a Lagrange point, buku cool, very important to do if we're going to be a spacefaring entity. And, you know, if we're going to do new Plantisha or new Jupiter station shipyards, it's got to be in a Lagrange point.
So there's an interesting, fascinating, popular reference here. Guess what the station was named at the very beginning of the movie Aliens? Gateway.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right.
So hopefully,
it
we'll
won't
pull
be
our
built-
heads out of our asses and
Wayland.
before like either we kill the planet or lock ourselves in because of all the space junk. Hopefully, we'll make that happen and actually come up with solutions instead of just causing problems.
Yeah.
And Wayland Tony won't build the station.
Right. Well, Wayland doesn't exist. Thank God, because that guy's an asshole. You know, Elon Musk's original goal for Mars was 2024. It's gotten pushed back, obviously, because of issues. But, you know, I'm hoping that 2024 may be a sad year for ISS, but we'll hopefully be on the brink of some very exciting spacefaring missions.
Yeah, and the end of one chapter and the beginning of a new one. That would be kind of cool.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice
That
to
might-
see a
That
new.
might pull us together a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see a new international cooperation project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that we might actually be recognized in the international community as a contributor instead of just an asshole. That's as political as I'm going. Brandon, let's continue with the star theme.
Yeah. So, have you guys heard of an FRB?
Yes, I have.
Fucking radical babe. Fuck if I know.
Fast radio bursts.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew that.
So, operating radio telescopes, we have occasionally run across these fast radio bursts that, until now, have been really kind of unexplained. There's been thoughts that it's, you know, from some sort of pulsar, but there's not a pulsar close enough to actually emit. So then they were thinking some other kind of exotic situation or aliens. No, it's both weirder and more normal than that. So the article I was reading talked about how these bursts are actually from magnetars.
Magnetars.
And what it is, yeah. And of course now I lost the little blurb.
Quick, Cody, dance.
I was gonna say, could somebody define magnetars for people
It's
that don't
a
remember?
type
Yeah.
of neutron star. It's a
Okay.
type of neutron star.
Not
So a magnetar is
Not
a
quite.
neutron star that has a magnetic field that is in the order of 10 to the 9th or 10 to the 11th magnetic field compared to a star of normal sequence. It's just absolutely massive electromagnetic fields. Like it makes the Oort cloud around the solar system would be completely in pole, like adjusted for pole.
Yeah. And what makes it special is there's this super dense leftover from the remains of a much larger star, and just a tablespoon of it would be, and I forget the exact number, I want to say 30,000 pyramids of Giza.
It's
weight.
if you compile it and forge it, you get a hammer. You get a hammer.
Not an axe?
No, it's a hammer.
Oh,
What about
yeah, I guess in
hammers?
this case, yes.
The axe was cooler.
I disagree.
No,
No,
it's
hammer. Yeah.
for sure hammer.
Stormbreaker? It's a better name. Sorry.
Stormbreaker's cool and all, but it doesn't grant the wielder the power of Thor. Only Milnor does that.
Yeah.
Just saying your username should have been Stormbreaker. Go on, Brandon.
Jesus. So yeah, as these Magnetars spin slowly and flare periodically, they're thinking it's basically like a lighthouse beacon.
It just so happens to actually be pointing at us every once in a while.
Yep.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So technically, is it a dead star? Is it far enough away that it's probably gone by now, or is it the skeleton of a star that is shining its light at us frequently that's still around?
Yeah, it's the leftover remains of a large star,
It's a
but
dying
it's
star.
because it's orbiting around, and it's got all the energy. That's what it's doing. But in another, also slightly space related, a new Mass Effect game is in development.
Another
How?
Mass Effect game?
It's
How?
EA. It's EA, so of course.
Yeah.
But
They haven't milked it already. There's still something coming out. You have to keep milking it.
God,
Yeah.
It might
But
be slightly
the-
sour and curdled, but it's still coming out.
coming out all chunky like.
Duh. Guys.
That's enough vor in this channel, guys.
Spread that on your bagel.
I gotta. Ugh.
Oh, drink your alcohol, you silly people.
Excuse me while I start another one.
Y'all were medical. Well, y'all were either previous or current medical professionals, honestly.
Yeah, now you know why I drink.
Still, yeah.
High five.
But the interesting thing is they admit that there was flawed execution in how they handled Mass Effect Andromeda. So it gives me a little bit of hope that maybe they'll learn from their mistakes. And alongside this, they are also remastering the original trilogy. So maybe
By remastering, do you
continue
mean remonetizing?
Exactly.
Right.
yes, absolutely.
Remilking.
Well, it's just like Bethesda. You gotta get Skyrim on your wristwatch next.
You know, I have to admit, I have 3 copies of Skyrim. And all for one
So do I.
system. It's not like I bought
Yep.
3 copies for 3 different systems. It's all for the computer.
So the original,
Yep.
the deluxe edition, and
Yep.
then VR.
Yep.
Yep.
Same. I have all.
Even
I have
done
all
the
3.
VR one.
I have not yet played it,
Me neither.
but I have it, and
Steam sales.
I need like I don't know, like a week vacation or like COVID quarantine to really get into that.
Oh, don't entice it. Don't entice
Don't.
it. It's
Man,
already
I mean, is a good quarantine,
ICUs
couldn't
like
we?
6 times a week. It's gonna happen at some point.
it's already jumped to minks. So
Right.
Oh, in Denmark.
I'm amazed there's 13 million minks in Denmark for them to kill.
I don't,
That's
Fur coats.
culling.
But
Yeah,
still,
you know we're living in the weird end times when they're using words like culling and
Culling all of the minks.
culling the minks.
You know what we need next? A purge.
No.
We're
No.
well on our way,
Because
man.
then,
No.
after
We're
the
well on our way.
purge, if we help Cody become the overlord, he will enact something to do with time, I'm sure.
Go ahead, Emperor of the World. Explain how the system should work.
I must admit that was a pretty good segue.
That was the best segue.
Hold on, let me
that was like
get
a
comfortable.
nitrous segue.
Excuse me while I try to prevent an aneurysm. Go ahead.
So,
Don't die, Brandon.
I'm protecting myself and killing Brandon.
COVID.
see, it proves that Mjolnir is more powerful than Stormbreaker.
That's what you get for wearing a Dodgers jersey.
Fucking LA.
That's all right. What makes it even worse is
Right, stand
that-
up a little bit. Who is it?
Him.
Turner.
You
No.
would. The guy who looks like you.
Exactly.
I have
The beard.
no comment.
I could have been a contender.
And
Except,
yet,
you know,
did they get a single Golden Glove on their team this year? I can't think of a single one name. Oh wait, Nolan Arenado got 9th year in a row.
I thought Golden
Okay.
Globes was a movie thing, not a
Golden
sport.
Glove
Golden Glove.
is
Oh.
for the best player in each position on the field. So there is 9 of them given out every year.
It's okay, Psycho.
It's
Don't
all
worry
right.
about it.
Anyway,
Sports ball.
Now,
It's
We
fine.
hate LA.
The,
We hate
the
LA.
only sport
Yeah.
I care about is air hockey and hockey. Yeah. So
In that order.
yes,
my kid likes
actually.
baseball, so I watch it.
So if you live in the U.S., except for him, then this last
Assholes.
week you partook, along with Halloween, in another tradition that we have to go through twice a year. And that's the switch between daylight savings time and regular time. Because our country decides that the misery of 2020 isn't enough and we must continue doing this BS. So I figure, well, first of all, I had that whole speech last week, like, I'm going to start this new thing where I, do something. And then I realized I had no energy because I was fighting a stupid time change. Doesn't matter that I got an extra hour's sleep, circadian rhythm still screwed up. Guess what? I can't fly my drone outside after work now because I don't care. You die of asphyxiation out there. Don't care. But no, now it's dark because I live in Alaska and they took away the 30 days or so between now and March or April or whenever we get the other time again that I would have
March.
of time. So I figured, well, let's research this. Let's see why I hate it. Because if you just don't like something, it's because you don't know enough about it. And actually, that's kind of true. It's not daylight savings time that I hate. It's the switch between the two times. So daylight savings time, we'll do a quiz or just a random questionnaire. I'm going to say what decade do you guys think, I'll give you plus and minus 25 years. When do you think that daylight savings time was the modern version of it was thought of? And then B, when was it implemented for first time?
Thought of 1776. No. Yes.
Okay,
You
Mjolnir?
sure?
Mjolnir?
I would say the 20s is when it actually.
I was going to say, it seemed like a World War I thing.
Okay, Colton? You're going to go with the same thing? Okay.
Yeah, 1915.
But
You're
actually
all...
implemented
Okay, implemented?
1880s.
Okay, you guys?
Yeah, I'm thinking it was like 1970.
It had to be a war thing. I feel like that's a war thing to just change time in some weird.
I
Some
think it
weird
was thought
thing.
of in the like World War One era, but it was really it's in its current form
No cheating, Brandon.
the energy crisis of the 70s.
You know, you all have interesting points. You're all kind of wrong too. So
Thanks.
That's tagline of this podcast.
Exactly.
yeah, that's actually a good point. So it was actually thought of by a guy named George Hudson in 1895, at least the modern version of it, and then implemented for the first time in Germany and Austria-Hungary in 1916. So wartime, you would be correct.
Okay.
It kind of went off and on a few times. Yes, that's how I feel about it. Like, you know, it was created by the Empire. But it went off and on throughout the years, and it depends on the country, too. And it was enacted kind of officially permanently in the U.S. during the 70s energy crisis. So 20 points to you, Mjolnir, for that. And then it was expanded in the 2000s. So
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
Was it
because
expanded?
yeah, so it was
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
yeah, because it used to be like in April, and then now it's actually verging on March. Because I always forget what time is the regular time and what time is the daylight savings time. So the regular time is the winter, and then the daylight savings. So we are on regular time right now, and then the savings time is actually the summer. And the reason they do that is so you get more light after work. Now, the issues that they have with it, aside from making my life miserable, I guess first of all I should talk about the benefits of it. So the benefits of it is, and now during a 2017 study, there was a 0.3% energy savings during that time. And it's better for retailers, and it's better in the winter, or actually this is kind of a negative side of it. So Russia actually did permanent DST from 2011 to 2014, but got rid of it in 2014 because people were complaining that school children were going to work when it was dark.
Going to school.
Yeah, or going to school.
Going to the
Oh,
mines.
it's Russia. You never know. Going to work.
In Soviet Russia, school is work.
Now,
Vodka comes out of our drinking fountains. Oh.
as an Alaskan, I could say that we go to school.
Because you can see the Soviet Union from your back porch?
If you live on Little Diomede, you can. Big Diomede is... Anyway. Just saying, there is an element of truth to that statement. Not her porch, but a porch in Alaska. Yes, you can see Russia. So, just putting that out there. The craziest stuff is rooted in some sort of fact, usually. So, the problem I have with it is I'm actually a proponent of having permanent DST, at least in Alaska. The reason, a few years ago, we actually had, I think it was when I was moving back to Alaska, there was actually a ballot measure to switch it. It was like the year before. Actually, I didn't get the vote on it, so it was probably the year before I moved here, or 2 years before I moved here. There was actually a initiative to switch us to having either no DS. It was actually no DST. And the reason that failed is because then we would be 5 hours off of the East Coast instead of 4 hours off the East Coast for part of the year. And this is why I'm also a proponent of permanent DST, because I like the competition you guys are having.
Yep. I'm just trying to find the W, honestly.
because where was I? I'm getting distracted by the changes of stuff.
Sorry, go ahead.
It doesn't matter. Like in the winter, it doesn't matter because kids are always going to school when it's dark. It'll change it by a few weeks depending on the latitude. Some latitudes you won't even notice. And it would put us either 3 hours or 4 hours off of the East Coast. So you would still have that amount of time. You would still have 4 to 5 hours of time to communicate and do business with the East Coast, which is a real issue in Alaska. The other issues with DST and switching it around is there's actually a quantifiable amount of people that die each year due to heart attacks in the week after. I can tell you that knowing teachers, there have been teachers that have said that students are useless for up to a month after each of the time changes occur because people are losing sleep.
All right, I'm gonna throw a card out here that I haven't thrown out before. I am a contract educator. I work for a school district. I'm employed by one. I currently don't work for one because I can't, because the school district is restricted to licensed teachers only right now because of fucking COVID. They are useless after up to a month after daylight savings time, because up to a month after daylight savings time is called Halloween, Thanksgiving break, Christmas.
Yeah.
And then they're useless after spring daylight savings time because they see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is summer. They are not useless because of the time change. They're useless because their minds are in other places, and they are dreaming of not being in school.
Well, you could
still there's a higher rate of
you could
traffic
say
accidents.
if they are more
definitely.
tired, you could say it's harder to focus, which means they don't want to be somewhere.
So one of the things that school districts in Denver have done, my school district, Cherry Creek School District, for my kids and where I work, has implemented a delayed and late start for high school and middle school. So previously, when I started high school back in 2000, which should tell you how old I am, everyone, the start time was 7:20 in the morning. It is now 9 o'clock.
Huh. So I guess that makes sense if it's middle school students, because it doesn't affect, working parents who have to drop kids off at school. Well, less drop kids off at school, but more of have to watch kids while they would be at work.
Right. And they're getting ready for work. They're saying, "Hey, go walk to the bus," and then they go to work. And then by the time they're coming off the bus, mom and dad are home from work, or getting home from work, or on the way home from work. It works a lot better, and the adolescent and juvenile mind is not designed to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and learn. Those people are called sociopaths. Morning people are sociopaths. I am calling all of you sociopaths that are morning people. I was a night shifter for a long time.
Well, kind of on not a segue, but kind of related. I read a study that they've been studying students since obviously this year in the United States. There's a lot of changes with COVID, the pandemic going on, and they've actually found that a lot of students are they're a lot more focused. They're a lot happier. They're a lot less tired because they're not having to get up at 4:30 in the goddamn morning to go on a damn bus to go to someplace they don't want to be. Instead, they could just wake up, go to school, and then because of the way the system is set up now, at least here in Tucson, to be fair, it was a Tucson study, that the students that don't need the extra help are getting done by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they're allowed to pursue other interests and actually be children, which is kind of I don't know if that's it's a good thing.
It's a quality of life thing. If nothing else, it's a quality of life thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that, I don't know, just an interesting little tidbit that I learned recently from some of my contacts.
I will validate and acknowledge that the week to 2 weeks after Daylight savings time, there is an increased number of fatalities related to it. Traffic accidents because of daylight occurring during, or glaring daylight occurring during traffic hours, whether it's morning rush hour or evening rush hour. Heart attacks, drug miscalculations because of time changes. It throws a wrench in your routine, which people are creatures of habit, and anytime you change their habit, it screws with them. I agree with that.
Not
What I
even.
don't agree with
Okay.
is your consideration of the hours that you're robbed because of daylight savings time. You're robbed of them because you choose to be employed in a 9 to 5 job that does limit your functionality in the evening and morning for leisure. That is a choice. You could either approach your boss and request to work swing shift or night shift, and then you'd have the whole morning if they would make that accommodation for you, which they probably won't because you're a government entity.
I was gonna say, what economy are you talking about? That is not really a thing for most people in this country to be able to request a change
Well, no,
based on that.
you have the right to seek other employment, a job that would accommodate that. So, for instance, I have the luxury of being a paramedic. I would never use those words together in a sentence normally, but I am privileged enough to be a paramedic, and I can choose to be a god awful early morning paramedic like I am tomorrow for the last time. And then I will be a 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. paramedic for at least the next couple of months. I have previously been on night shift. I've previously been on swing shift. My employer is very kind and conscientious of my home life and makes it so whatever I need is what I get. And that's a combination of having a really great employer, which I feel like I have sought out and earned their respect. And the other side of that is being a good employee to earn that.
But again, that's not the norm. And yes, you
Yep.
can choose to look for another job, but if you're, say you screwed up as a child and you didn't go to college or whatever, or
Right.
you have kids, like your mobility isn't just as easy as that, as to say, oh well,
You are not
I'm
stuck in a
slightly
9 to 5 job simply because you choose to be, or, for instance, Colton, you typically work overnight. That's a choice. You could seek daytime employment.
Right, but again, I even myself, I am lucky because, granted, yes, I happen to choose a job that I can kind of pick my own schedule, but that's not the norm. It's also, there are trade-offs for that as well. And again,
Right.
there are a lot of people out there who don't have the mobility to just, oh well, I'm not happy in this job. I'm slightly more tired. I guess I better risk. I don't have any savings because I'm not getting paid enough. It's time to go look for another job. I mean, it's not
It's
simple.
It's I see
And
employment
then
like
if they're all,
like
and if all
Tarzan.
of these, if all of these employers are 9 to 5, which is the standard, that's your position is not a standard job, because it can't be, obviously.
Well,
But the vast majority of
retail is
economy,
not a 9 to 5 job. Retail is not a 9 to 5 job. The service industry is not a 9 to 5 job. I'm thinking of over
But
half
you-
of our economy that is not 9 to 5. Corporate America is not the norm. Corporate America is
small businesses, most small
10 to
businesses in the small
20%?
towns are 9 to 5, which
Mechanics
are a
with certain exceptions due to
8 to 5.
yep, banking.
IT. I would say I would agree that could be
IT.
an overnight position. That's 24 hours,
but
honestly, as
most of the
us
time,
know.
yeah, most of the time in IT, it's still when
You
other
have to be
people
there when the users are there.
exactly. It's the same reason why I can't work remotely
Work
from
remotely.
there. That,
do you mean?
that-
You're there.
That rock right there. That's where I want to work remotely.
the beach of Kasamui.
Yep. But again, we've kind of gone off a little bit off the topic on my.
Well, it all ties back into systematic issues going back to daylight savings time.
Yeah.
So continue.
And also, so when you consider the energy savings of 0.3%, the issue when you get into lower latitudes, like where Colton is, for instance, you actually run into an additional issue with daylight savings time where you have air conditioning costs. So in the 1970s, some of the bigger costs were lighting costs. However, when you have the LED light bulb that is 25 times more efficient than the incandescent bulb, that starts to shift things. Yep. And I wonder if the same study was done in 2020. Well, maybe not 2020 because this year would be such a statistical oddity.
Right. 2019. Go back to
yeah, this is pretty much getting thrown out.
Yeah. So 2025, we'll say. We'll be safe here. 2025, because we got to worry about the Minx virus now. So if that was done, then I don't think that we would actually see an energy savings. I could be wrong. There could be something else that I haven't thought about. But I really think that what we should do, because it doesn't just mess up people's schedules with the time change, it also has major ramifications on has had major ramifications on computer systems. Windows 95 had an issue where an entire country was left out of it because of it. I mean, it gets ridiculous. So what happened is most of the OSs actually switched to UTC, then they convert to each time zone. And after this and thinking about it for a while, I kind of agree that we should, in Alaska at least, have permanent DST. And then we should also, the world should probably switch to UTC. It's going to be an extreme, mind fuck for a while because you won't be going to work at 8 and then coming home at 5. I'm sorry, Charlie. But instead you might be going to work at 23:40, at the crack of dawn at 23:40, and then coming home
I don't see us going to Zulu time anytime soon. I just don't see it working.
It would make it so much easier for the airline industry, for the travel industry, for so many industries, and we wouldn't have to convert anymore. Scheduling meetings cross time zones would be so dramatically easier. This is as big of a deal.
But it would be impossible to calculate things like sunrise and sunset times in my weather app. It would not be able to calculate a sunrise time for me.
I disagree with that. It has your GPS
it gets off your GPS, yeah.
And Google already knows this.
That time would be off of a standardized time zone, not of a GPS coordinate.
Sorry, say that.
If you're basically making time zones a complete continuum, with no boundaries. So when I cross into Kansas, it doesn't magically change into Central Time like it does if I drive into Kansas. It makes it so, it's 7 a.m. I'm going to never magically arrive an hour and a half early because of the whole crossing time zones phenomenon. Jet lag will be basically a poo-poo, we don't care excuse. It won't change anything.
I think the weirdest thing would be traveling somewhere else and you're used to, even if it's hey, this store opens at 2300, you would go to a different location, and rather than that location opening up at 8 a.m. over here, 8 a.m. over here, but different time zones,
the hours would be different.
8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 or 0800, 0900.
Well, it's one of those things of, our entire society is essentially based off of food production. Calendars and times in general. Even time zones have an aspect of food production. Well, daylight savings time has an aspect of food production based
Actually,
on it.
A lot of the farmers are against DST because what would happen, and this was a misconception I had. I always thought farmers were one of the main reasons for DST, but I was incorrect. Because what would happen is the time would change, and then rather than their workers set hourly would arrive at the new 8 a.m., but the new 8 a.m. would be after the dew on the grass was off, and it would cause issues with harvesting. So
Well, yeah, I mean, if tying it all back into the semi-theme of this episode, which seems to be space, if we were to become a spacefaring civilization, I would argue we would almost have to go a universal time if we have multiple heavenly bodies, whatever, multiple bodies that we live on. If we're going to have a synchronized economy and everything, we would have to have a world time. And then I don't know,
it's gonna
it's one of those
be
things
a mind screw. Like, I don't discount that to begin with.
If a business, I'll take the small town of Colorado. It's on the border between Colorado and Kansas. If you're driving on I-70 and you blink, you will have driven 10 miles past it. If you have a business that has a standardized time, so any chain restaurant that says, we're open 9 to 9, and you cross that line, that's an hour difference that this business will still be open and that business will already have closed. If you make it a standardized uniform time, then it'll be impossible for those businesses to decide, all right, well, because you're in Colorado and I'm in Kansas, because there's this perfect north-south border, that's fine. Let's talk about Nebraska, where Sterling is inside the cutout of Nebraska. Do the businesses play with Colorado's time? Or it's too convoluted when you're talking about times and regions that don't have a uniform squared border. It would be impossible, being a foreigner, to travel into that region, i.e., I don't know, a truck driver. It would be impossible to standardize a schedule. Impossible.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. But I think it would be more more city, rather than this state is specifically this time zone.
So that would then completely dissolve what you were hoping to do with becoming closer to New York time, because it would be impossible to account for individual choices of those cities. They would make different choices simply because states like Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh are on opposite ends of that region and could simultaneously select different times as their, well, it's UTC 8 o'clock here, but we're going to be closed, and it's UTC 8 o'clock here, but we're going to be open. That makes doing business across international borders almost impossible. With a standardized 24 time zone, I know that they are 5 time zones away, or they're 3 time zones away, or 1 time zone away. Though the outlier is this asshole right here, this one, where we just joined up with Mountain Standard Time with Arizona. So now it is currently 9:51 for both of us. Awesome.
I know. We started the podcast an hour later. Thanks.
Yep.
But I'm the one who didn't change. How is that fair?
Exactly.
Arizona gets screwed again.
So you should come back to joining with us.
God, no.
Or y'all just do what we do and don't fucking change.
Yeah. So, okay, you have a point. Like, people's minds, you wouldn't be able to go, oh, they're working from 8 to 5. You would have to know this. But fortunately, this day and age, we have things that track how many steps you make in a day. So it would be really easy to have a calendar that you want to sync up times that would automatically be able to do that. To go, okay, what time is New York open? and it would go 2300 to 2314, 26, or there's no 2600, but you get the For some reason I keep fixating on 2300, so it'd be like 1400 to 20. Yeah,
but you base that time off of the standard 8 to 5 concept of a workday. Still, even though it's now universal time, you're still basing it off of people generally, at least corporate side. They'll start in the morning, work through lunch or work till lunch, take a break, and then work till the evening, and then they're done for the day. You're still basing it all on that same concept of the 8 to 5.
American centric, which is not the
True.
rest of the world. Like Spain, siesta, you take 3 hours and then you work till 8 o'clock.
Well, see, I mean, again, it's in some ways that's an argument for the universal time, because I don't know, because it is based on the culture, and even within this country, there are certain. If a person in Miami has a different concept of time than a person in Los Angeles, or Los Angeles to Gunnison, different concepts of time based on, well, how it is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Might be interesting to standardize it, but the problem is humans do tend to. We're patterns based. That's how we see the world, and it would be a mind fuck. But if you were to do it, I agree with Cody. It would be the computer that would help in some way if you can get the culture to understand implicitly that a computer doesn't give a shit about that type of thing.
As we become a more and more connected world, and hopefully not spread the minx virus everywhere, it becomes necessary to be able to cooperate on a more standard level, and to have that standard universal, I would say.
Start with daylight savings time. The fact that we had the argument where my time stayed the same, but everyone else's changed, that alone is just proof of the fact that it doesn't really matter what the time is, because it's not even the same within our own country. It will change based on a region. It'll depend if it'll change on the hour, which is important, because now if you're trying to call New York, for me specifically, if I'm trying to call New York, now I have to account for the hour change that I didn't do. So honestly, again, to me that's kind of an argument for the universal time again, because we already don't have standard. Yeah, we have the standard breaks within like a state or whatever, or within a region of the time zones, but there are all places all around the world that don't recognize daylight savings time, or the freaking time zones aren't perfect.
Thailand.
Perfect lines. They're freaking like this. We're gonna cut this particular island out because of whatever reason.
Yeah, same thing.
So it's all arbitrary anyways.
Australia,
Time is an artificial construct anyways.
Yeah.
There you go. So fuck it.
Australia has
we should all just be naked.
A province that I think it's New South Wales. Oh, strip podcast now. All right, I can see who had the most to drink. But actually, Canada. Some of the provinces in Canada actually don't do daylight savings time at all. And I can tell you that, dealing with, communicating to Thailand that I have to account for daylight savings times shifts twice a year, and it's frustrating because it's like, oh, wait, now I got to talk to somebody at 5 o'clock rather than 6 o'clock. So
stock markets have to account for that shit, and that's literally the economy. So
I remember seeing something a couple years ago where it's like $3 billion in GDP across the United States is lost because of daylight savings time. Each time we do it, so $6 billion a year.
That's quantifiable.
When I read this, it wasn't quite that extreme, but I didn't get into the stock market, so it was like 274 million, which is
it's not insubstantial.
Yeah,
though. I mean,
that's enough to buy him a bigger hammer.
I don't need a bigger hammer. I have a bigger hammer. I just don't keep it on my desk.
Because he's not worthy. Or he is worthy. Fuck, I can't
remember. Excuse me a second. I
That
must be
was-
in Doctor Strange's house right now. Sorry.
It's all right. We totally practiced that for like 8 hours, guys. Sorry, it was terrible.
But I think that concludes my mini rant of time. Maybe next time it will be space, and then we'll have a continuum. So for the first part of Festivus, we had the ranting of, you're going to hear about it. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be the feats of strength later.
Ooh.
Prepare for more soapboxes.
Haha.
Oh, good. That's what we need. More
Always
rants. My liver
Rant.
can't take this, Cody.
Rantaholic. Brandon, play us off.
Dun, 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 dun.
Terrible.
And here
No,
in Mos
not that.
Mos Eisley,
And I don't care.
Well-
Han shot first. For sure.
and so we're apparently now sponsored by XSplit, or they are. That half of the
Yeah.
screen is.
I don't pay
actually
for
got
things.
it.
They can be a sponsor.
And they don't have
They're-
a monthly subscription.
not a
Or
sponsor.
they have an option that is not a monthly subscription. So
Correct.
They just have a decent product that we like to play with.
Yeah.
They're not official
It's a
sponsor.
little-
but
Thanks for
we recommend
for
them.
starting this trend, Brandon.
yeah, they're
And
it's
we're
not-
children with
Sorry.
play.
From the tech pirate himself, a recommendation.
It's pretty cool technology.
Yeah.
Either way.
It is. Well, I am Brandon Vader. You can find me on the techpirate.net, on YouTube as the Tech Pirate, and
Yar.
also occasionally on Twitter as, well, you can find us at the Tech Pirate or TTP_net. Cody, where can we find you?
YouTube, striving to fail. I'm failing at uploading more things. So I'm only failing at uploading. I am not fail at actually recording. So I've got lots of stuff that has not been edited or put anywhere. So not failing at
Nice.
that, but I am failing at uploading and editing. So yeah,
Represent.
yep. You.
I am Colton Roper. You can find me as a contributor to... Oh. Yeah,
It worked.
kind of looking a little bit weird. There it is. There's the website.
Tech Pirate.
TheTechPirate.net. I am a contributor, trying to do a weekly article of some sort. I'm also on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Gaming, Twitter, all these things. Working on Instagram, all under Seeker4761.
That's how many backgrounds he has.
No, they're the wrong file types, but I'm getting there.
He has them. They're just the wrong file types.
Yeah, we're getting there. Charlie, what about you?
I'm Charlie Stifler. You can find me here every week. I will eventually write my review of my Microsoft VR to the Tech Pirate and start contributing there. And I'm going to challenge Cody to do the same thing at some point with his VR headset. I am Mjolnir, MIJOLNOIR, at Twitch. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me Steam, playing games almost all the time that I'm not working. Brandon, finish us off.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us on this episode of This Week I'm Learning. You can find us at wherever you listen to your podcasts, as well as on YouTube at This Week I'm Learning. HypnoToad would like to remind you to comment and subscribe. Whoever added that in there, thank you. That's well done.
You are literally our anchor man and will read anything. Go fuck yourself, San Francisco.
That's awesome.
I saw it coming and just leaned into it.
Fucking
Thought
Futurama
it
and
was
an
cool.
Anchorman reference. God damn it.
For you social media peeps, you can find us on Twitter at ThisTWIL. If you'd like to contact us, you can always send us an email to twil@thetechpirate.net. We'll see you all next week.
Maybe even at the same time. We don't know.
What is this, a module for ants?
That's impressive. A Zoolander
Oh, yeah.
Futurama, and an Anchorman reference.
so-
And there was, you know what, Avengers.
Festivus.
So
Yeah.
one of my four
Seinfeld.
Facebook friends had like, you know how Walmart or some of the other big box stores have the like little mini displays of what the tent will look set up. They had one of those in their living room, and their kid was playing with it. I'm like, what is this? A tent for ants? And that literally was like 24 hours ago.
That made my whole day, and no one laughed.
I laughed.
So old.
I laughed.
That's all that matters.
You're not a loyal subscriber?
Am I?
Apparently not.
Am I subscribed to shit?
You're a terrible person if you are not subscribed to our part.
I need
our
to
podcast. God damn it.
That.
You are fired,
Oh.
sir.